welcome. I would like to welcome you to another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And if you do me a favor, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so anything will help. And here's where we'll start today's show. So, Game 3 went... Game 3 of the NBA Finals is exactly how I thought the Bucks would play the entire series. They went at DeAndre. Giannis has been on a different level. They went at DeAndre Ayton. They just kept going to the paint. Giannis kept going. He did take a couple shots, but he majority of the time went to the paint. He had free throws. I think it was like 9 or 12 for like 15 or something like from the free throw line. The game went exactly how I thought the Bucks would play the entire season or entire series. Drew Holiday was hitting shots. Chris Middleton was hitting shots. And the Bucks won Game 3 by 20, 100 to 120. And the takeaway that I got from Game 3, I got a couple takeaways from Game 3, actually. Takeaway 1 is this. My theory is correct. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but my theory is correct. Home court advantage really only works. Home court advantage really is meant for away players. I mean, not away. What am I saying? Home court advantage is the advantage goes to the role players, meaning role players play better at home. They shoot better. They feel better. They know the rims. They know the courts. Stars and superstars, they pretty much play well wherever they're expected to play well wherever. It's just role players play better at home. And as we saw, Bobby Portis played better. Chris Middleton played better. PJ Tucker was hit some shots. Drew Holiday was finally hitting. In fact, if you look at Drew Holiday, if you look at his best games outside of, I think, 1 or 2 games in Brooklyn, he's played well. No, 1 or 2 plays in Atlanta. Every time he's played his best games are at home. And another takeaway I took from the game is we're really starting to see the same thing that we saw in 2020 with the Lakers and the bubble. It's the same thing we're seeing against Phoenix. When it's all said and done, if Phoenix wins the NBA Finals, more than likely Chris Paul is going to win the Finals MVP. And again, I understand completely why this is his first Finals in 16 years or whatever like that. He's been a very important cog to this finals team. I mean, to this Phoenix team. I mean, a year ago, Phoenix didn't even make the playoffs. Even going 8-0 in the bubble, they still didn't have a good enough record to make the playoffs. And this year, they're in the NBA Finals. And as we're speaking, they're up 2-1. In fact, the game is tonight. Game 4 is tonight. However, I say this is going to look a lot like 2000, or it's starting to look a lot like 2020 is the Phoenix goes as far as Devin Booker takes them at this point. If you look at every single game in these playoffs that Devin Booker had a good game, more than likely they won. Every game, if you look every single game, I actually looked it up. Every single game Devin Booker played bad, they lost. And Devin Booker played his worst game of the entire playoffs in Game 3, and it's not a coincidence that the Suns lost by 20 points. Now, do I think that the Suns are done? Do I think that they're not going to win another game? No. Do I think the Bucks are done? Do I think that now the Bucks are just going to steamroll? No. But I do think that this next game is extremely important for a lot of reasons. It's extremely important for both teams. For the Bucks, you want to do exactly what the Suns did. You handled home court. You controlled home court. You won both games. You're supposed to win at home, and you did that. Giannis is on the roll. Giannis is playing at an absurd level at this point. He's putting up numbers that only Shaq, LeBron, and other players like that stature has done. Michael Jordan. And you also, this game is important for the Bucks because you want to continue. Again, as we've seen in this playoffs, you don't know what you're gonna get from Drew Holiday. I said Drew Bledsoe. You don't know what you're gonna get from Drew Holiday. You don't know what you're gonna get from time to time from Chris Middleton. You don't know what you're gonna get from Brook Lopez. You don't know what you're gonna get from Pat Connaughton. You don't know what you're gonna get from PJ Tucker. So you want them to have their best games when they're supposed to have their best games, which is at home. So if they play like they did last game, which is game 3, they should win. I mean, Giannis was in attack mode from he was unstoppable. The last 2 games, now I know they lost in game 2, but he's been unstoppable pretty much the last 2 games. And he's playing like he never hyperextended his knee just a week or 2 ago. So for the Bucks, you don't want to go back. The last thing you want to do is go back to Phoenix down 3-1. That's the last thing you want to do, because as we know, like I just said, their role players have not played well really in Phoenix. For the Suns, while it's only going to be 2-2, at this point the momentum shifts drastically to the Bucks. Giannis is playing which he is the best player in the series. Chris Middleton has got on track. Drew Holiday has got on track, which to me, Drew Holiday is probably the key to. In fact, we'll talk about it a little in a second. But the role players have got on track, and the Bucks. I mean, let's if you want to be 1,000% real with it, on paper, the Bucks are a better team than the Suns. You have, like I said, you have all NBA defensive players. You have former defensive player of the years. You have former MVPs. They're the better team. They just haven't played like it. And that's one reason why what's the name? Charles Barkley said that they're one of the most frustrating teams in the league, because any given night you don't know what you're going to get from the Bucks. Are you going to get a team that all they want to do is jack threes even though they're the tallest freaking team in the world? Or are you going to get a team that plays smart, play efficient, goes to the rim and gets your bigs in foul trouble? Giannis goes crazy. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. But the Suns do not want to go back to 2-2, especially when you left Phoenix feeling like on top of the world. You were up 2-0. Both the first 2 games weren't really close. You don't want to go back now up or the series tied, because it's like, especially for a young team, you want to ride that momentum. You know. So I don't know, man. I think that now. What are the keys? Who are the key players for each team? Moving forward, the key player, in my opinion, for Phoenix is Devin Booker. And it goes back to the point I just made. Devin Booker plays better. Anytime Devin Booker's played well, they've won mostly. Every single time he's played bad, they've lost. This team, while Chris Paul has been the emotional leader, he's guided them to where they need to go, Chris Paul is not at a point in his career where he can continuously give you 30, 35 points a game. He can continuously give you 25, 30. He's not at that point in his career. Yes, he can be good with, assist to turnover ratio is incredible, but he's not the player that can just go get you 30 on any given night. Or no, 30 when you constantly. That's Devin Booker. And honestly, there's nobody on the Suns outside of Devin Booker that can do that. DeAndre Ayton's not putting the ball on the ground. Cam Johnson, he's more of a spot up or 3-and-D type player. Cameron Payne, he's not doing it. So this team is going to go as far as Devin Booker takes them at this point offensively. And for the Bucks, if you look at every single game they win, Drew Holiday has a good game. Drew Holiday is so important for the team, not only for offense, but for defense. You're stuck playing against, or you're stuck guarding a Chris Paul. You're stuck guarding a Drew Holiday. I mean, not Drew Holiday, a Devin Booker. Depends on who you get switched on. And while he's a first-team all-defensive player, he's going to need to win those battles as well as hit shots. And the thing that you're seeing in this series is he gets a lot of wide open shots, and he gets a lot of wide open shots because Giannis's strong penetration. You don't want to leave Chris Middleton because, as we've seen, he can have a 20-25 point quarter. So it's going to be, Drew Holiday has to hit, PJ Tucker has to hit, and I trust Drew Holiday more than I trust PJ Tucker and Pat Connaughton. So, moving forward, man, this is going to be this has turned into an interesting series, and Game 4 is so pivotal. And another thing I want to talk about Game 4 is Devin Booker for a second. I was on the GOAT podcast. Shout out to Marcus and the crew over at the GOAT podcast. I think that episode drops today as well. But he asked me a question. He asked me a question. Let me say this. We were talking about Devin Booker, and we were talking about is he a superstar? I'll say this. Every single player in the league, in my opinion, has the talent of a Steph Curry, has the talent of James Harden, has the talent of a Damian Lillard, has the talent of a Kawhi Leonard. They have the talent of a superstar. If you don't believe me, any given night, hell, a Corey Brewer has a 50-point game. What's his name? Mo Williams has a 50-point game. Every player has the talent of a Steph Curry in them. The thing that sets Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, KD, Dame, Bron, AD. The things that separate stars and superstars is their consistency. Steph Curry is consistent. Any given night, he's going to give you 30. He's going to give you 40. He can give you 60, as we saw this season. Dame Lillard, any given night, he can give you a 45, 50, 55-point game. And even if there's a bad game, because, Steph went 0 for, 13 one time in threes. The next game, I think he damn near set an NBA record. It's like, even if they have a bad game, they're going to bounce back. What they're going to give you. I think Game 4 is going to be that game for Devin Booker, or at least we're going to know if Devin Booker is actually a superstar or not in Game 4. And here's what I'm saying. Devin Booker had the worst game he's had this entire playoffs in Game 3. And a lot of people question, is he a superstar? Is he just a star? He has the talent of a superstar. He has the frame. He has the shot. Hell, even though they lost that game, he has a 70-point game. I think the third most points scored in the NBA game. Like, he has that scoring capability. Devin Booker is a bucket. But again, we're going to see we're going to see if he really has that Mamba mentality, because we're going to see what he's made of. If he comes out and has the same exact game, or I'm not going to say same exact, but if he comes out and struggles like he did in Game 3, then it's hard for me to look and I'm not saying he has to, go perfect. I'm not saying he has to go nuclear and go 50. I'm not saying he has to have a 45 or 40-point game. I'm not saying that. But he needs to do hella better than 10 points. He needs to be better than getting benched the whole fourth quarter, and justifiably getting benched the whole fourth quarter. We're really going to see if Devin Booker is still in that star status, or is he a superstar? A superstar, again, you don't have to, you don't have to have the perfect game coming off of a bad game, but you're going to be consistent as in a sense of you're going to contribute somewhere. Steph Curry can have a bad shooting game, but he'll give you 10, 11 assists or something like that. Damian Lillard could have a 30-point game like that. So we're really going to see what, to me, Game 4 is really going to tell you if Devin Booker is a superstar or not. And it's okay not to be. Hell, to me, Chris Middleton is not a superstar. He's a star because we don't know what you're going to get. He doesn't have that consistency. He has the talent of a one. He just doesn't have that consistency. Paul George, we talk about him time and time, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. This playoffs really showed a lot, but before this playoffs, he wasn't consistent at all in the playoffs. So we're really going to see. Game 4 is really going to show if Devin Booker is a superstar. And another thing that I wanted to address is a lot of people say, a lot of people are looking at what Giannis is doing and still, he still can't shoot, or he still doesn't have a three, or he still airballs free throws, he still airballs 3-pointers, which is true. That is true. Giannis cannot shoot to save his life. Or let me say, Giannis is not a good shooter at all. From the free throw line, outside of the paint, he's not good. But I think that a lot of people gloss over what he is good at. I mean, a man that can't shoot threes is still giving you consecutive 40-point games. Hasn't been done in the finals since Shaq. A man that can't shoot is still getting damn near a block and a half a game in these playoffs. No, Giannis can't shoot, and Giannis needs to improve that if he wants to round out his game. But let's not overlook what he can do and what he has been doing. Giannis has been doing things again. Giannis. The thing that hurts Giannis, in my opinion, is one, the other superstars in the league. There's nobody like Giannis in this league. If you look at the other, top 10 players, KD is not like Giannis. Kawhi is not like Giannis. Steph, LeBron, AD, Jokic, Joel Embiid. There's no other player like Giannis. So it's kind of hard to give him a comp. Or people want to give him a comp so bad, but you give him the wrong comp. He's nothing like KD. Yeah, maybe the body type, the height, not the body type. The height is like KD, but that's about it. KD operates a different part of the floor than Giannis. He's nothing like Steph, nothing like Dame, nothing like James Harden, nothing like Kyrie. He's nothing like these players. So when you look, it's kind of it is. And I'm not comparing them at all, but it's kind of like the Tim Duncan and Kobe effect. Everybody wants to praise Kobe, which again is right to praise Kobe, but everybody wants to praise Kobe. People say he's easily top 10. Hell, there's people that have Kobe best player of all time, and there's nothing wrong with if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But those same people will say Tim Duncan. Don't you ever put Tim Duncan in the same conversation as Kobe. Bro, Tim Duncan has accomplished the same exact amount of things that Kobe has outside of scoring. Kobe's game was extremely different from Giannis' game. From Tim Duncan's game, and they both dominated two different parts of the floor, but they both are dominant players. And people will nitpick and say Tim Duncan wasn't that great because he didn't he didn't shoot or could score as great as Kobe. Yet and still, Tim Duncan was an all-time great. Giannis cannot do everything that KD can do, everything that James Harden can do, everything that Steph can do, everything that, I don't know, man, everything that these other superstars can do. Yet and still, he still dominates in his way. So, Game 4 is going to be very interesting, and I'm excited to see what we're going to get out of Game 4. So, which is tonight. And, man, Game 4 is important for both teams. Extremely important for both teams. So, moving forward. Last episode, I gave my all NBA playoff teams. I gave, third team, second team, and first team. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to give my awards, my superlatives. I wanted to give my MVP of the playoffs, my defensive player of the playoffs. I wanted to do that. So let's do that. Let's first start with the coach. To me, this was a lot harder than I expected. I gave it to Monty Williams because of what he's done with the Suns. Also because he got snubbed, in my opinion, in the regular season. But the Suns are still playing, and nobody expected the Suns to not only to be here this year, but to be in the playoffs. I mean, not be in the finals at all. And I think that a lot of that is due to the coaching of Monty Williams. And as we're seeing, as we speak right now, the Suns are up 2-1 against the Bucks. In my opinion, the Bucks have a better roster and better players than the Suns. So for the head coach, I have Monty Williams as coach of coach of the playoffs. Most improved team, or most impressive team, let me say that. Most impressive team of the playoffs, I have the Atlanta Hawks. First of all, a lot of people, including myself, did not have the Atlanta Hawks beating the Knicks, let alone the Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers. And I didn't have them. I didn't. Nothing in my mind could have fathomed. I could not fathom them being in the Eastern Conference Finals, even if you paid me. And they did, and they had a lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think what we saw out of John Collins, what we saw out of Nate McMillan, the coach, what we saw out of Trae Young, Clint Capella, Bogdanovich has a couple good games until he got banged up. I think that was the most impressive team that we saw in these playoffs. So I have the most impressive as Atlanta. The least impressive team has to go to Philly. Bruh, Philly was up. There was 2 games that Philly was up more than 15 points. In fact, one of those games, I think it was like 25 or something. And they lost both of those games. You can put a lot of that on Ben Simmons. You can put a lot of that on Joel Embiid, the meniscus and everything. You can put a lot of that on Doc Rivers and he has a tendency to blow leads. But it's a collection, man. This was the year. This is the year to me that they are going to beat themselves up. Because again, look at the landscape of who you didn't have to play Brooklyn. You don't have to worry about LeBron James and Anthony Davis if they would have made it to the finals. You don't have to worry about Steph, Clay, Draymond Green if they would have made it to the finals. You don't have to worry about Dame if he would have made it. You don't have to worry about Jokic because he didn't make it. And if you look at the team, they're drastically bigger than the Suns. And this was your moment, man. And that's why I think that they're probably gonna blow it up. At least one of the 2 stars, either Ben or Joel, one of them is probably gonna have to go because this was the year. This was the road. Man, so the least impressive team, in my opinion, for the playoffs was the Philadelphia 76ers. Most improved player. Most improved. No, I'm gonna do 6-man. 6-man. I have Cameron Payne. First of all, Cameron Payne could also be most improved, but I have that. I didn't want to give 2 awards to the same person. But what he's done, he's been vital for the Suns. Chris Paul, again, isn't at that age where he can play the whole game. And the job of a 6-man or a backup point guard is you're not expected to be as good as the point guard. You're not expected to score as well as the point guard, as the starting point guard. What you're expected to do is keep the ship afloat until the starting point guard comes in. And there's been multiple games where Cameron Payne has not only kept the ship afloat, but he's actually extended the lead, or he's been better in some areas than Chris Paul. And the Suns, honestly, the Suns may not be here if it wasn't for Cameron Payne. I know that's crazy to say because I was one of those people Cameron Payne, the dude that be dancing with Chris, I was one of those people. How was Cameron Payne still in the league? All he does is dance with Russell Westbrook and stuff. But Cameron Payne has been incredible, man. He to me is the 6-man of the playoffs. Most improved, it has to be Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson was so bad in Detroit, and he really wasn't good towards the end of OKC. That's the reason why, if you listen to what he said, the press conference that they lost, it was hey, man, I appreciate the Clippers for saving me. I don't know who would have paid for. He was about to be on veteran minimum. I don't know who was about to pay for Reggie Jackson until this playoffs. He looked rejuvenated. He was hitting big shots. He was consistent from three. There was a lot of games where it was him and Paul George that was keeping them afloat because of Kawhi Leonard being out. I have to give Reggie Jackson his props. Reggie Jackson, to me, again, when they picked him up, first of all, you remember last year when the Clippers picked him up, he didn't get any burn. He didn't get any playing time really in the bubble, like none. To go from that to being one of the most important pieces to your team the next year, like that to me is huge. So I have Reggie Jackson as the most improved. The defensive player of the playoffs, I have Giannis. I mean, Giannis, I believe, is averaging like a block and a half a game. Not to mention what he's doing, Giannis, he's showing why he's a two-time defensive player of the year. You can give this to DeAndre Ayton as well. You can give this to, well, you can't really give it to Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert was getting cooked. To me, it has to be Giannis. Giannis has been great. Giannis has been a solid rim protector, even though that's supposed to be Brook Lopez's job. Giannis has been okay at that the last few games. Yeah, man, Giannis has been good. And I think because of his defense, as well as his offense, but his defense is important for the Bucks being where they are, because if it the Bucks, as we've seen, Drew Holiday has been inconsistent when it comes to defense. I mean, hell, he let Trey get like 49 on this man. Like, it's Devin Booker almost got dropped 40 on this man. Chris Paul almost dropped 40 on. I think Chris Paul did drop 40 on him, I believe. Like, yeah, nah, it's yeah. But Giannis' defense has been good. So I have Giannis' defensive player of the playoffs. And MVP is tough. MVP was the hardest one in my opinion. To me, it could have went to three players. It could have went to Chris Paul because of what he's done for the Suns. It could have went to KD. I mean, we know exactly what KD did. We know exactly, without Kyrie, without a healthy James Harden, KD stepped up in ways that we know he could. But what's funny? There was people talking about, oh, KD's legacy's on the line or this, that, and the third. And KD, I mean, I'm Kevin Durant. You know who I am. Like, that's what he said. I mean, he had a 49-point triple-double, and then followed that with like 48 points. And if it wasn't for his big toe, he would be in the NBA Finals right now. Like, KD was good. But I had, and I know this might frustrate some people, but my MVP of the playoffs, and I'm going to give him credit, was Paul George. Here's why I said it was Paul George. Kawhi Leonard went out in the Utah series. In fact, he went out in the Utah series, and they were down, 2-0 in the Utah series. Paul George proceeded to then lead the team in scoring, lead the team in rebounds, lead the team in assists. He got them past the number one overall seed in the West, the Utah Jazz. Then he followed up by playing incredibly well until the end of the Phoenix series. And even though they lost in 6, there was a couple games that they should have won, and they could have won. And Paul, the reason why I'm giving the MVP is Paul George finally played like the talent that he is. With Kawhi, he went back to Indianapolis days. We remember what he was in Indiana when, they were going to the conference finals and going against Miami Heat. And we remember the dunk that he had on Birdman. You remember the 40-point games that he dropped on the Hawks. Like, Paul George was a monster in Indiana. And I don't know if it was due to the injury that happened in Team USA, but he wasn't really the same when he came back. He wasn't the same when he went to OKC, even though in the regular season he finished third in MVP voting. And then we know what Paul George is in the regular season. It's just it doesn't really carry over to the playoffs. And this year it finally did. While I was critical at Paul George with Paul George at some times in this playoffs. I mean, some halves he looked bad, and the next half he'll drop 30. I'm like, oh damn. I'm like, okay. Like Paul George to me was the MVP of his team and was the MVP of the playoffs. Now, no, they didn't win, but they could have eased. Nobody had them beating the Utah Jazz, especially after being down 0-2, and nobody had them forcing a 6-game series with the Suns, especially with no Kawhi Leonard. So that's why I have Paul George as my MVP of the playoffs. Those are my awards, man. If you agree, let me know. If you don't agree, let me know. You know, I'm here to. You know, I'm here. You know what it is? I like interaction, man. I like, you know, if you don't agree with, I'm not hating. If you don't agree with something I say, just leave in the comments. We can definitely talk about it. If you agree with something I say, leave a thumbs up, man. But also always subscribe. Let's move forward. Oh Lord, the ceiling's falling off, man. So Team USA loses back-to-back exhibition games against Nigeria and Australia. There's a couple reasons for this, actually. First and foremost, there's a word that I bring up a lot on this podcast, especially when it comes to super teams, and that is chemistry. You need to have basketball isn't just you collect a whole bunch of good players and they just produce. Like, that's not basketball. That basketball is about chemistry, it's about scheme, it's about, you know, knowing your role and playing it well. Like, basketball is more than just you accumulating a whole bunch of players and it works out. Case in point, remember now I know they were a little older, but remember the Lakers when they had Karl Malone, they had Shaq, they had Kobe, they had what's his name, Gary Payton, and they didn't win. I think they lost to the Detroit Pistons that year. Like, it doesn't. Hell, look at this year's Brooklyn. You had Kyrie. Now, of course, we had injury, yes, but you had Kyrie, you had James Harden, you had KD, you had Blake Griffin, you had DeAndre Jordan, and they didn't make it out the second round. Hell, look at a team that was better with chemistry. The Houston Rockets, when they had James Harden, when they had Chris Paul, when they had Clint Capella, PJ Tucker, they couldn't make it past a team that had a whole bunch of players and they had chemistry, which was the Golden State Warriors. Steph, Clay, KD, Draymond. Like, chemistry. Team USA, I think they started practicing 4 days before their exhibition. A lot of these players, and not to mention, 3 of these players are still not there, which is Chris Middleton, Devin Booker, and Jrue Holiday. They're still not there. Now, do I think that we should panic? No. I mean, it's just an exhibition. It is what, I mean, they're exhibition games. It is what it is. But I do think you're starting to see something that, to me, is going to continue to grow. And that is, Team USA has always had this aura. They've always, because Team USA is the best team in the world. That's just how it is. Team USA has the best players. Team USA has that allure of, we have the most talented player. Ever since that team that won bronze and the Redeem Team, like, ever since the Redeem Team, pretty much, Team USA is like, hey, we have the best players. Hell, the Dream Team had every player on the Dream Team and coach outside of Christian Laettner are Hall of Famers. Like, Team USA has always had that aura of, we are the best. It doesn't matter what you throw at us. We have the best players. And that is still the case. Team USA still have the best players. There's nobody in the world better than, like, outside of USA that's better than KD, better than Bradley Beal, better than Damian Lillard, better than any of these players. However, these teams are starting to catch up. Shouts out to Nigeria. Shouts out to Australia. They have NBA talent. Nigeria, Australia, they had Joe Ingles. They had Matisse Thybulle. They have Patty Mills. Like, these teams are starting to catch up. Now, do I think that they're better than Team USA? No. But these teams are starting to get more and more NBA players and better NBA players. I mean, hell, Argentina. Is it Argentina? Yeah, no, Greece. Greece, you're still gonna have to see Giannis. You're still gonna have to go up against Nikola Jokic. You're still gonna have to go up against Luka Doncic. You're still gonna have to go up against Rudy Gobert. Or Gobert, whatever you want to call him. Or whatever his name is. What I'm saying is that allure of, while yes, Team USA still has the best players. They still have the best players in the world. They still, is the best. They're still the best team in the world. It's just teams are catching up. Do I think that they're there? No. And I'm also not panicking. They're just exhibitions. This team has only been together for 6 days at this point. 7 days. And 3 of their players are missing. Another thing that you're seeing is Team USA. Gone are the days where you can just beat someone offensively. That's just not happening anymore. Hell, look at the Brooklyn Nets. You're not just going to beat someone offensively anymore. If you look at Team USA, they only have 2 defenders, and that is Draymond Green and Bam Adebayo. And the thing about those two is they're not perimeter defenders. Damian Lillard is god-awful at defense. Bradley Beal isn't that good at defense. Zach LaVine is god-awful at defense. And as you're seeing, what you saw against Nigeria and what you saw against Australia, they're getting destroyed by perimeter play. Another thing that you're seeing is they don't have a true big. Their big is Bam Adebayo, who isn't really a true big. It's bad when you had to they have to play Kevin Love. When's the last time you heard anything? And don't get me wrong, Kevin Love is still a good player, still a serviceable player. But when's the last time you heard really anything from Kevin Love? Who still, by the way, I know if you go to like an NBA trivia game, I put money that you'll stump people. How many games did Kevin Love play last year? In fact, how many games has Kevin Love played since LeBron James left? Don't get me wrong, Kevin Love is still a good player. He's still an important player he could still be an important player to a championship team, but Team USA needs him because they don't have a real true rebounder. Their best rebounder is Bam Adebayo. Gone are the days where you're just going to beat people offensively. As we're seeing, you have one of the greatest offensive players to ever step foot on this earth, and that is Kevin Durant. And they're still losing to Australia and Nigeria. And that is no disrespect to Australia and Nigeria. They're really good teams. They have really good players. But they should not be playing. They shouldn't be beating Team USA, especially I know it's just an exhibition again, but they should. Hell, these are the first, I believe, this was the first time Nigeria has ever beaten Team USA. I know it's just an exhibition, but this is the first time they've ever beaten Team USA. Hell, Team USA beat them a couple years ago by like 80 points. You're not just going to beat people you're not just going to beat people offensively. Another problem that Team USA has is most of their best players, pretty much all of their best players, are one-on-one players. KD is a one-on-one type player. Zach LaVine's a one-on-one type player. Bradley Beal's a one-on-one type player. What's his name? Damian Lillard's a one-on-one type player. That's not going to work in international play, especially when. Did you know Luis Scola is still playing? Luis Scola. Yeah, Rocket Luis Scola. And I'm saying that to say these teams have been playing with each other and been building and growing with each other for forever now. So you're not just going to beat someone one-on-one because they know their rotations. They know what they're doing. Yes, Team USA still has the best players, but they they they're not, they're not just gonna beat you. Okay. These international players are still world class players at some places, and you're not just gonna bing 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 them to death, because they're gonna run plays. They're gonna have defensive sets. They're gonna do this and that. Now, do I think that Team USA is going to lose? When they go to Tokyo, I don't think so. I think they're gonna have their whole team. I think they're gonna get it together. But I do think they could lose. Let me say that. I don't think that they will, because again, you still have the best players. But I think that they could. They could lose to a team that has a Luka Doncic and he goes crazy. They could lose to a team that has Nikola Jokic. Like, they could. Because as you're seeing, they don't have a true big man. They don't have true size, and they don't have defense. They suck defensively. Their best two defenders is Draymond Green and Bam Adebayo. And while those are really good defenders, they're not perimeter defenders. And you don't want them to be perimeter defenders, because they're going to take that, draws them away from the paint. And if that draws them away from the paint, I mean, your next best guess or your next best line of defense for paint defense is KD and Jeremy Grant, and that's not going to work. Don't get me wrong, KD's cool, but no. So I don't think that we should panic about Team USA losing. It's not a panicable, like, let's we don't need to panic. But I do think that you're starting to see the world is catching up to Team USA. They haven't caught up, but they're catching up to Team USA. And if Team USA doesn't bring their best, they are susceptible to lose. It used to be, if Team USA doesn't bring their best, like, they could still win by 20, 15. I think the game where they didn't really play well at all and still won and almost lost, that was, I think, 2012. The championship when they're going up against Spain, I think it was. It was either 2008 or 2012. When they went up against Spain, and they won by like 3 points or something. Kobe did the whole shush thing. Like, that's the last time I think I remember them playing like garbage. But their talent got them over the top. Hell, was it FIBA? Didn't they just like finish 5th or something in FIBA? Like, that's like, come on now. The world's catching up to Team USA. And you can't just, sorry for my language, you can't half-ass it anymore. You're going to have to play your best, or it's just not, you're susceptible to lose. And especially a team that doesn't play no type of defense. It's going to be really tough if, yes, I understand you have world-class scorers. You have Dame, you have Bradley Beal, you have Zach LaVine, you have KD, but what if they're not hitting and you need defense to stop Luka? How are you going to do that? How are you going to stop Luka Doncic? Not saying that they're going to lose, but how are you going to stop that? How are you going to stop Rudy Gobert from going crazy in the paint? How are you going to stop Nikola Jokic from going crazy in the paint? So, yeah, man, I'm not panicking, but the sign we're starting to see this, it's starting to become more than a trend as far as the world's catching up to Team USA. Do we still have the best talent? Yes, but they're catching up. Moving forward, so UFC 264 happened this weekend or last weekend, and the biggest thing that happened was Dustin Poirier beats Conor McGregor due to medical or doctor decision. Doctor stopped because Conor McGregor broke his leg. Like, he broke that. Like, it was bad. I'm gonna show some video. I'm not gonna show when he broke it, but I'm showing you some video of the fight, as you can see. And the question now is Conor McGregor done? The last few fights, I mean, he's lost to Dustin Poirier twice. He lost to Khabib. We know what happened with the Floyd thing. Like, his last few fights, he's lost. Not because, like, I think he's lost 4 of the last 5 fights, I believe. Here's why I say I think he's done. Now, a lot of people say KD was done after he ruptured his Achilles, and as we're seeing, KD is still playing his best basketball. But here's the reason why I say Conor McGregor is done after this injury. Because you had to get screws and rods in his leg. That's going to take a year plus to heal. And he's already, like, I think 34, 35 or something like that. Not to mention, I don't know. I know, these rods that's in fight, people's leg after they break. I know that they're there to sustain you from, you can run. I know you can walk, but I don't think that they're really made to be kicking people. I don't think you're supposed to be putting your leg through all that force kicking people. Also, Conor McGregor hasn't been the same since the Floyd Mayweather fight. Now, a lot of people are attributing that to the money that he made. He doesn't really take the sport seriously anymore. I don't know. What I'm saying is he's starting to be more of a big name by what he did. Shannon Sharp, shouts out to Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp compared him to someone perfectly right now, and that's Ronda Rousey. Do I think that Conor McGregor is going to go to WWE? No. Do I think he could? Yes. He's a showman. Conor McGregor at this point is more of a showman than a fighter. Now, I'm not saying that to say like I could be. He'll destroy me. But Conor McGregor is more of a showman. And you're starting to see, Khabib and Dustin Poirier. Like, you're starting to see people aren't fazed by it. Now, of course, you're going to sell tickets. You're going to sell pay-per-views. The people aren't really fazed with that anymore. Like, he's lost this last few fights badly, too. Like, they didn't end in decision. Like, they ended with not TKO, KO, submission. Like, yeah, I just think it's done because he hasn't looked good before the injury. And this injury is going to take a year, longer than a year to come back. Because you're going to have to, of course, let it heal after surgery. Then you're going to have to build it up the strength if you're going to fight again. Then you have to trust yourself in being able to, throw those kicks and plant well. It's going to take almost probably, if we're really being honest with it, it might take maybe 2 years. He's gonna be older. The sport's gonna continue to go, and it's gonna speed up to him. I'm not here to bash anyone. I'm not here to wish anyone's career to be over. That's no. But I will say that it just feels like it's over. I hope it's not. If he doesn't want to be, he doesn't have to be. But it just feels over. And when I say over, is Conor McGregor? Can he fight again? Of course. After 2 years, he can definitely fight again. But I don't think that he's good enough to win a title fight anymore. I don't think he was good enough to win a title fight really after the whole Floyd Mayweather fight. And he hasn't really, what happened with, this is the third fight with Dustin Poirier, and with Khabib. I just don't think he's good enough to win a title fight. And especially after this injury, I just don't think he'll be there anymore. And I think Conor McGregor, or the notorious Conor McGregor is what he calls himself, will now be, it'll be because of his name and what he's done before instead of what he's done now and moving forward. So, I wish him a speedy recovery, but it just feels like that injury kind of was the nail in the coffin for his successful for his career. Let me say this, for his career. So, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, hey, I don't mind admitting it, but it just feels like it. So, and lastly, shouts out to Pete Alonso the other night for winning the home run derby. I always find a way to I'm not gonna say crap on MLB, but MLB is behind the 8 ball in a lot of areas when it comes to fan interactions, when it comes to improving their game. They are late to the party a lot. But one thing that I will say is the MLB does a hell of a job with their All-Star weekends. Like the home run derby, probably in my opinion, brings this nearly the same excitement that the 3-point contest does. Like I was watching in awe, saying, "Bro, how the hell are they hitting this?" And it doesn't. The beauty about the home run derby is it doesn't even look like they're swinging hard. How the hell is this man hitting this ball 500 feet in the air? Like effortlessly. Shouts out to Juan Soto. Shouts out to Otani. Shouts out to Trey Manzarek, I believe, from the Baltimore Orioles. Shouts out to Story from the Rockies. They put on an incredible home run derby. And again, it's not just the home run derby; it's the All-Star game as well. The All-Star game is fun to watch. So again, I'm not the biggest MLB fan. I mean, I'm not here saying I will stand on the table for MLB, but I will give it props when it deserves its props, and they do a hell of a job with their All-Star, I guess, weekend, whatever. Hell, even the celebrity game was fun. Watching Quavo go up against DK Metcalf, it was fun. The MLB does a beautiful job when it now first of all, I don't know why it came on after the home run derby. That was confusing to me, but nevertheless, the MLB does an incredible job with their All-Star, I guess, weekend, whatever you want to call it. And shouts out to Pete Alonso. That man was, bro, his first round, I think he had the most home runs in the history of the most home runs in a first round. Now, I believe that Ken Griffey, I believe, has the most. I think he had like 40. And I know Pete Alonso, he had 34 his first round. And he was pretty much coasting. Like he didn't need extra time at all in the second round. In the third round, he didn't need his full extra. Like that man. Now again, this is back to back. Of course, they didn't go in 2020 because of COVID, but he won in 2019, and then now he won in 2020. And he was hitting, bro. It just amazes me. There's things that just blow my mind, and that is one of them. The fact that you can hit a ball, and it doesn't even look like it. I understand it's force and speed and trajectory and everything, but I don't understand. I will obliterate my shoulder if I try to hit a ball as far as they was hitting that jump. It was crazy, man. So shouts out to Pete Alonso. Shouts out to the home run derby. Shouts out to the National League. Shouts out for the National League. They're them winning the home run derby, and shouts out to baseball. So the home run derby was definitely fun to watch. And there you have it, man. That has been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I appreciate you guys. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve, joggers, the link is in the description below. Go get yours today. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so anything would help. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And until next time, much love.